guys, I'm Doug.
And I'm Pat.
Welcome back to the Doug and Pat Show.
Do you have a smartphone?
I do.
Is it a 6 or 7 or 8?
It's a 7. It's
Cool.
a smart 7.
All right.
Today we want to talk about something that's dear to our heart, like vintage pickups, and that is vintage amplifiers. These amplifiers are kind of described as under the radar or pawn shop amplifiers. They're really not Gibson, not Fender, not Marshall, and not Vox. So they're obscure little amplifiers, tube amplifiers from the golden era, from the end of the 50s and early 60s, pre-Beatles. The ones we have are a Premier 120. We have a Tiscoco Model 73R.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a Dan Electro Artist model. They're all combo amplifiers, and we will be playing a Gibson R7 with bare knuckle pickups through them,
All right.
because we are still interested in the classic sound of PAF pickups. You know, in the old go into pawn shops, which Pat used to haunt the pawn shops all the time, and also we worked in music stores, and people would walk in the door with some of these amplifiers. They really were of not that much value back in the old days. I have to point out your coat, though, because this is a magnificent coat. Where did this come from?
This came from a thrift store.
Yeah, right.
This came from a thrift store, and it was $14, and I whatever.
It's silver.
It is silver.
It's like a blue velour, and it's silver, and it goes over the side. And here's, I think this is really cool. It's only on this side. This is a magnificent thing. Is that something that you might be willing to share with us as we film more shows?
I can. See, initially I wanted to be a doctor, and you know they got to wear sport coats all the time.
Good point.
And so
Let's plug into some of these amplifiers. Hope they don't blow up. Some of them have been serviced, and some of them have not. We'll talk a little bit about them.
you know they've made it for 60 years so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
They ain't gonna blow up.
Yeah.
The thing about these amps, though, too, for me is, like this coat, they just look cool. I mean,
God,
they
don't
just look great.
Yeah. Let's start out with the Premier amplifier,
Okay.
and then we'll move through them with the bare knuckle pickups.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Mills.
Thanks, Tim. Very cool. Okay, off we go. This amplifier, Pat procured somewhere along the line.
Yep. The Portland Music had it in their amp collection, and they liquidated their collection of amps and vintage guitars here about 2 years ago.
Was it not actually in their space heater collection?
Yeah.
It looks like
It could have been.
It looks,
Could have
people,
been.
when the people see these amplifiers with the grill, some of them you don't see them with the grill, but with the grill, they are the coolest. They are so cool. It has 2 channels in it, and it has they call it vibrato. It's tremolo. We can sort of hear it in there. We're not going to really mess with that all that much. The company Premier is actually known as Multivox at the time, and it was New York based. Started in the 1940s by a musical distributor named Peter Sorkin Music. A lot of these companies got started after World War II. The technology at that time, Fender included, they were using circuits that were kind of standard circuits that people would use, even though these amplifiers sound quite a bit different from each other. So let's hear what it sounds like using the...
What's it got for... It's got a 12-inch speaker.
Oh, it looks like a 15, doesn't it?
It does, but I'm sure it's a 12.
Yeah.
And it's 6V6s.
6V6s in it.
So
Some 12X7s.
what's that, put it about 14, 15 watts?
Yeah.
And you see guys, you know, they're really, really good for harp. You're going to play harmonica through them. They have that almost cheap, cheesy sound that makes the harmonica sound so good. You play harp?
I don't.
You play flute?
I do. Neck pickup. warm sound. Doesn't have a lot of top end on it. The amplifiers probably hasn't been gone through, has it?
No. It's still got the two-prong plug.
Yeah,
Got all
it does. We're actually a little wary of plugging this in. If you're going to buy an amplifier like this, we recommend, our lawyers have recommended this to us, that you have it checked out first, because you could have an electrical problem, just like we might have an electrical, or I might
You
have
might.
an electrical problem. That was the neck pickup. The amplifier is up probably a little over halfway. Tone control is all the way up. Has a volume and a tone control. But it has a warm sound. Breaks up just nicely, just a little bit. Great for bluesy stuff. It's not very loud.
No.
It probably needs a tune-up maybe, but it's probably consistent with 6v6 tubes. What did we figure that this was dated at? About
56.
56. Yeah, it has a speaker code in there that calls it a BEST,
Yeah.
B-E-S-T speaker. Never heard of that. And dates it to the 43rd week of 56.
Right.
Amazing looking amplifier. It has a picture of wood grain on the
It looks
bottom.
like shelving paper.
It probably is.
Yeah.
It probably. The amplifiers we're looking at, some of them had some budget things about them, but how do they sound and rest of that? The top part has a it has a texture to it, sort of like at least on the side here, that's supposed to look, I think, like skin of some type, leather. Supposed to look like leather. Doesn't have skin.
Skin, yeah.
Skin. Looks like skin. Typical leather handle. Cool stuff. We love the way that it says Premiere here.
Yeah, the script.
This is great. So if you want to have a conversation going on, if you find one of these, this is the Model 120, but there are a number of different ones. Get it tuned up, make sure the speaker's okay, take it out and play it. They're really big fun. The next amp is called a Dan Electro Artist. Dan Electro is pretty familiar to people around the planet, not just because of the rediscovery of the guitars, the basses, the choral sitars and all that stuff, but the amplifiers. So the company was started in 1947 by a guy named Nathaniel Daniel. And he, not unlike a lot of guys like Leo Fender and like what we were talking about with Premiere, is a post-World War II guy that was making amplifiers actually before World War II for Epiphone Company. And he designed all those amplifiers, which you think about before World War II, you're talking about the beginning of amplified jazz guitar. So pretty simple circuits. But he was the first guy that came up with a push-pull circuit so we could get more power. He was also the first guy that designed the tremolo. So the first amplifier that was available. You probably know the amplifiers that he designed as Dan Electro, which is what this is. The amplifiers he made for Sears and for Montgomery Wards, and they would be Silvertone and Airline. So he really had a good thing going for a long time, making huge production amount of amplifiers and guitars for Sears and Montgomery Wards, and then marketing himself under his own brand of Dan Electro. Jack White, when he was playing with White Stripes, he was using the Silvertone amp as one of his amplifiers. He was playing a model 1485 from what I read about it, which is a head, and it had 610s. I remember those amplifiers as a young guy in high school, you know, because they actually sounded good because they were tube amplifiers, but they really cut some corners in production. So let's take a look at this one. What are some of the corners that they cut? Most of this cabinet is not made out of wood. It's made out of what appears to be a pressed paper. And this amplifier, this artist, was made in 1959, so it's been around for a long time, and it still's holding together. It has no corners on it. Has a TV front. I mean, like really like a TV front.
You've been around since 1959 also, haven't you?
Yeah.
So
Actually, right around the time I got out of prison, I think, for the first time.
I think the amplifier is probably in a little bit better shape than you.
Probably
it's
so.
had some parts replaced also.
It's definitely louder than I am. The logo, Dan Electro logo, is missing, but I got this amplifier. We're talking about how do you procure such a thing. Working in a music store, a guy walked in with it, wanted $40 for it. It had a big hum to it. Back then, that was being the 80s. You could buy stuff all the time, and all tube has 6L6s in it. So oddly enough, but it's not very loud for a 6L6 amplifier. You'd think a 6L6 amplifier would put out what, at least 30 watts, 35 watts. This sounds like a 6V6 amplifier. It's not that loud. Has 2 channels. Each channel has treble and bass and a flat spot on them, so you can have it at flat. Boost the treble, boost the bass. It has an unbelievable amount of both. It has a lot of bass and it has a lot of treble. When I got the amplifier, it had a 10-inch speaker in it. And it's a relatively large cabinet, so I changed the baffle board out to a 12-inch speaker. And it has in it a 12-inch gold Alnico thing that they used to put in Vox amplifiers. It is in there because it actually sounds pretty good in this amplifier. I Googled artist, Dan Electro artist, and nothing comes up. But the closest thing this is that I've seen is called the Dan Electro Dual 12. And the Dual 12 is the same amplifier. It has a preamp section in the top, power section in the bottom. There's a cord that goes down to it. Everything looks exactly the same. The layout of the transformer is different. It's in a different place, but the tube complements the same. The Dual 12 has a larger cabinet, obviously, to accommodate. And I'm running some pictures of it underneath there. So it probably fits into our premise about rare amplifiers too, which is they're hard to find. And we're going to have another rare one coming up after this. So it seems like maybe some of the corners were cut in production to keep costs down because Dan Electro, Silvertone, and Airline were known for that. But did they compromise on the sound of it? I really don't think so. This amplifier really sounds quite good. Daniel had the company in 47. He was in Red Bank, New Jersey. He sold the company to MCA in 66. Isn't that funny? A lot of these companies got sold in 65, 66.
Yeah.
Fender, Vox, Dan Electro. I mean, weren't things going along pretty good back then? I don't know. They sold the company. What do you think about it? Can you see it okay?
It's another one of those that you almost don't care what it sounds like. It just looks so cool. I mean,
some people call it a heater also. When you
heater.
see the Premiere, it's definitely not a heater, but it's definitely a TV face. This is what the TV sets used to look like in the 50s.
Does this have reverb or tremolo or?
It has tremolo and it works in both channels. It does not have reverb in it at all.
Yeah.
Want to hear what it sounds like?
I suppose.
Huh?
Yeah, I
Okay.
do. I really
Let's
do.
hear it.
I do.
Works in both channels, the tremolo.
That's
Pretty-
balls.
It's pretty cool.
That's
Both
good, so-
channels sound, to me, sound the same. It had 2 extra jacks installed in the one channel, which were taken out, so it's been put back to stock. But the artist, it's interesting not to know anything about it at all, but it obviously was a single 10 version of the dual 12.
Right.
It appears to be that. Wow, look at this beauty. This is the next in our little secret treasures of amplifiers. This is called a Tiscoco Model 73
R.
R, because it has,
Reverb.
yeah,
It's a reverb model. It's got 2 8-inch speakers in it. Reverb, and it's purple.
it is.
It is purple.
It's in really, really good shape. How old do you think this is?
Early 60s.
Mm-hmm. I read that they changed to mainly solid state stuff around 64, 65. We're all pretty familiar with the Tisco Del Rey, and all that stuff of guitars. Those guitars really, not unlike the Dan Electro stuff, they were really a price point guitar back in the 60s.
Right.
And there were a lot of them made, and they made it so that they were affordable for people to buy guitars and get behind them. So where'd you get this thing?
This came from a small music store in Southern Oregon, the Music Shop, and the owner, Pearl Jones, who's a good friend of ours, got this in. She said she was sitting in a shop one day, and a guy, very well dressed, came in, not unlike
Like
Doug.
me.
Real clean-cut, elderly gentleman, about Doug's age, in his late 70s, came walking in with a guitar in a brown case and this amp in the other hand, and sold them both to Pearl. Pearl found out that the guy actually played this guitar in the guitar and this amplifier with Andy Williams, and on the song Moon River.
Wow.
So it's got a little bit of history to it.
Wow.
It's cool. The guitar, I believe, is still for sale, and it is mint condition. It's a ES 175 with P90 pickups, so I think it's 55 is what she said. But the amplifier is just in pristine condition also, with a cover, all the fun stuff. So,
And it's purple.
and it is purple. It is purple. So
Uses EL84 output tubes in it too, which we love, EL84 output tubes. We like EL84s, we like 6V6s. We like
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Moon River. So, shall we hear what it sounds like?
Yeah, I'd love
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll do a little dancing or something too.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Nice.
Neck pickup. That's the show for today. This is section 1, or part 1. I don't know about section 1, it's part 1. We're going to have some more amplifiers, 3 or 4 that are going to be sort of under the radar, great value, formerly known as pawn shop amplifiers. Just unusual amplifiers that you don't see from the classic era of the tube amplifier, because that's when these amplifiers were made, that's about all they were making were tube amplifiers. So we've been on took a little break because we were sick or stuff like that, but we're back now, almost, except for when I go to Spain for 2 months coming up soon. So to our friends in Barcelona and Madrid and parts about in Spain, if you are getting this, email the Doug and Pat Show at gmail.com. Tell me where you are. Maybe we'll meet up and talk about guitars. While you're on the intraweb, you could also go to our website, thedouganpatshow.com, for merchandise, style and stuff like this. We're going to look into having the Pat O'Donnell official wardrobe available to you all. That's a nice looking coat.
Isn't that nice?
It is unreal. You can also check out, when you're on the website, go to the Chasing Oscar tab and hear all the guitars and not the amplifiers, all the guitars and pickups that we've been playing over the years. Playing the same song through the same amp, mic the same, so you can get actually
Which amp is that?
apples to apples. That would be, of course, our buddy, the Vox AC10 Super Reverb Twin, 1965. Got anything else to add to that, Patrick, besides how great you look today?
No, I'm just glad to be alive.
Yeah. Compared to this, flash on screen of the picture of you.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, thanks guys. I'm Doug.
And I'm Pat.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Stories of the old days.
Well, you know what? It was about 1973, maybe 74, and I was playing in a band with Doug. We decided that we were playing old Les Paul Juniors and things, and that it'd be kind of cool to find a Flying V. So we decided Eastern Oregon, there's some Indian reservations up there that we could go up there and probably find a Flying V. Heard about a couple of that were in the area. So we got in the car, a little Honda Civic.
That's right.
And cruised on up to Eastern Oregon, and didn't find any Flying Vs. Didn't find any Sunburst Les Pauls, but what we did find was a 57 Stratocaster. And that was a weird story in itself, in that we asked some kids in the street if anybody in town played guitar. And they said, well, yeah, old Harvey down the street. So we went down the street, knocked on his door, and he and his wife came to the door and said that he did have a one of them their Fender Les Pauls. And he says, you know, Doug, have you ever seen one of those? Doug says, no, but I'd sure like to. So they invited us in. Out from behind the couch, he pulls this Fender Stratocaster case, opens it up, and it was a 57 Strat. Old Harvey didn't really want to sell it at the time, but he decided, you know, I could use the money. So he sold us the guitar, and we had to take the Silvertone amp with it. To say that it was a really good deal, it was a really good deal.